Peterbot just won the 2024 FNCS Global Championships. He also won this tournament, and all of these other tournaments. And all of these were just in the year 2024, which is barely halfway over. Peter's rise to the top of competitive Fortnite has been nothing short of historic.
I think honestly he's really good.
Peterbot and Pollo living up to the hype.
You watch the most dominant grand finals I've ever played. In 5 years, this will still be talked about here.
If you can get away with cheating that long, then I'm gonna give up watching Fortnite.
Today, we will not only discuss and review how Peter won $400,000 this weekend, but also how he rose to the top of competitive Fortnite after being just a kid on his PlayStation a year ago. For those of you who are OG Timmy fans, you know I've already done a video about the story of Peterbot before, but for those of you who missed out, I'm going to do a small recap of Peter's career up until this weekend, and then we can talk more about how he just had a historic win. Peterbot Kata was born on June 20th of 2007. That means as of the making of this video, he is barely 17 years old, which is insane considering the amount of money he has made playing this game, and we're gonna talk more about that later. But clearly, Peterbot started gaming at a young age, and he actually started playing Fortnite during the first season ever on his PlayStation 4.
I was in school with my friends, and actually my cousin. My cousin told me to get the game. I was just playing with all my IRL friends and stuff. Just having fun like every other kid when it first came out.
Quickly, however, Peter realized that he was better than his friends. A lot better than his friends. On top of that, he also realized that the console community just wasn't as good, and if he wanted to go pro, he would need a PC. A couple years later, in early 2020, Peter would get the opportunity to get his first PC and eventually take his dive into professional Fortnite. On September 2nd of 2020, at just 13 years old, Peter made his very first earnings of $250 in Caster's Contender Cup. Although $250 may not seem like a lot compared to the hundreds of thousands and millions that he's winning now, you have to realize that as a 13-year-old kid, $250 probably felt like he was rich. For the first year of his competitive play in 2020, Peter kept taking home smaller cash prizes and earned a total of $1,200 in the December Frosty Frenzy competition. For the first half of 2021, Peter managed to place in the top 100 in a bunch of cash cups and an FNCS, winning a few $100 here and there. But he was just about to take home his biggest earnings ever in 2021 that summer. Peter earned himself a spot in the FNCS All-Star Showdown on June 26th of 2021. He did not only better than people thought he would, but better than anyone could have ever imagined. Peter, in his first massive solos tournament, would place 8th in the finals, earning him a whopping $18,000. This was obviously huge for Peter, not only because that's a lot of money, but because he is still 14 years old when all of this is going down. On top of the money, this placement also showed the Fortnite community that Peter was a force to be reckoned with. And with the relatively new Trios game mode being part of FNCS now, it was important that he proved himself in order to get good teammates. Following this standout performance in solos, veteran player P-God and another young gun named TK would reach out to Peterbot to see if they wanted to join the two to trio. For those of you that don't know, P-God was not only one of the better competitive Fortnite players, but he was also incredibly popular. In August of 2021, P-God and Peterbot and TK were definitely underdogs leading up to FNCS, but they were ready to prove everybody wrong. You see, Peterbot was no stranger to being the underdog. Peter was nobody in the Fortnite community just 6 months ago, and now he was playing with some of the world's best players on the world's biggest tournaments. Leading up to the FNCS, just weeks before the qualifier, the dynamic trio would win their first cash cup together, taking home $600.
Let's go! Let's go!
And after this incredible performance in the Cash Cup, they did even better in the qualifiers, finishing first in the Session 2 FNCS semifinals. Just a week later, it was time for the Grand Finals, and Peterbot, along with TK and P-God, were ready to prove their deniers wrong. Unfortunately, the team did not place in the top 10 like they were looking to do, but with an 11th place finish out of 33 teams, they still took home $2,500 in earnings, which again is a lot for just a couple of kids. And although this trio looked very promising following their first performance in FNCS together, unfortunately it didn't last very long. To the surprise of many of his peers, Peter decided he didn't want to continue playing with P-God and TK following FNCS. Regardless of them not playing together anymore, however, P-God undeniably helped elevate Peterbot's fame. Before the two played together, Peter had only 4,000 followers on his Twitter account, and by the time they split, he had 10x the followers at 40,000 in just a few months of playing with P-God.
I had 4,000 followers when I started playing with him. I have almost 40K on Twitter now, and I appreciate it a lot.
And with all of these new followers, Peter was ready to show the world that he was one of the best players around. So for the next season of Trios, Peter caught the attention of some players called Bucky and Macwood. And if you don't know who those veterans are, you must be under some kind of Fortnite rock. This trio would team up for the very first time on October 18th of 2021. Peter, of course, wanted to play with good players in general, but another huge part of the equation here is that Macwood and Bucky had an uncontested drop spot. You see, one of the reasons that Peter's team got 11th is because they were contested on the drop with P-God and TK, which makes it a lot harder to perform well. So with an uncontested drop and everything to prove, it was time to drop into the grand finals. And unfortunately, things didn't pan out the way they thought they would, because not only did Peter not do better than he did last season, he got exactly the same 11th place once again, earning another $2,300. After this happened, Peter got some backlash from the community on his decision to leave P-God. Peter's growing confidence had turned relatively cocky, and he thought that he was perhaps better than he was at the time. But later on in this video, we're going to talk about this week's tournament, and you'll see how this confidence was definitely justified, as Peter would become one of the best players in the world. But for now, we're still at Peterbot being 14 years old. The young Peterbot did, however, seem to learn a lesson, as he decided to stick together with Bucky and Macwood for another season. And this would probably be the best decision in Peter's young career, because shortly after the 11th place finish in FNCS, Epic Games would announce the Fortnite Grand Royale. The Grand Royale was set to take place in that following November with a multi-million-dollar prize pool. And let's just say that this trio sticking together was a really good decision. Peter and his trio finished in an amazing 4th place, which earned the trio $30,000. It seemed like all was going well for Peter. He had the trio of his dreams, making money, and growing on social media. However, things would come to a screeching halt. This is because Epic Games decided that in just 1 month, in January of 2022, the competitive game mode would switch from trios back to duos. And with Bucky and Macwood sticking together, this meant Peter was once again on the hunt for a teammate. But let's be honest, Peter wasn't going to have to look for a teammate for that long. After playing with some of the best in the business and placing so high in Grand Royale, there was no way that somebody wasn't going to scoop up this young prodigy and take him to the promised land of winning an FNCS. Peter tested out a couple of teammates, hoping to find the perfect fit for the new season. He tried playing with the GOAT Kanata, Nani, his old trio member Macwood, and even ran up FNCS with his good friend Quanti. But after 6 months of trying and not performing the way that he wanted to, Peter decided to give up on playing with other top players. And instead, he made a decision that once again would change his life forever. Peter remembered what P-God did for him, taking a young player with a lot of prospect and giving them an opportunity and crafting them into a better player that can fit his playstyle. Now, this is where things are going to get very interesting and take off very fast for the young Peterbot. With the second FNCS of 2022 just around the corner, Peter would decide to give Byla, a very cracked controller player, a chance. And although Byla was technically older than Peterbot, it felt similar to the P-God situation, where Peter was ready to take this guy under his wing. And that's exactly what happened, because Byla did not let this opportunity go to waste. Peter and Byla came in first place of Qualifier 1 for FNCS, which sent them directly to the grand finals. And it was here that Peter would solidify his name in the conversation for one of the greatest players in Fortnite history. On May 29th of 2022, Peterbot won his first FNCS finals.
Peterbot and Byla, officially your FNCS champions. You love to see it. That was the most incredible day one, and then they were just hanging out, dancing it out like you were earlier.
Peter Peter had finally done it. From an awkward console kid to an FNCS champion in less than 2 years.
How did you feel after winning your first Grands with Bila?
Felt great. It was like the best feeling in the world. I mean, you just won. Honestly, it's not really a money thing, it's just winning. When you're winning, you can't be mad at anything. And honestly, the win was really unexpected, so it meant more to, me, just because I don't think people had me in their top 20, but I still won. A lot of things went my way though, I'm not gonna lie. Every winner needs a little bit of luck, bro. Like whether you say they don't or not, everyone needs a little bit of luck in their FNCS. It's just how it works.
However, all of this success wouldn't come without haters. Peter's laser-like aim, seemingly tracking opponents through walls, fueled accusations of cheating. Videos started popping up all over social media.
We are purely talking about the professional player signed to TNG, Peterbot. He has come under fire today for being accused of cheating by BBG's Young Cal.
And these accusations weren't just coming from internet trolls. Pro players, the best of the best, started calling out red flags in Peterbot's games. Even the world champion Bugha expressed his doubts about Peterbot being real.
I don't know any pros who know people that aim like this. I've never seen a pro before him that aims like this. I don't know how to describe it, but the way he aims is insane. And just the way he plays, he hits the 200, moves off of him, and then moves back onto him instantly. I don't understand it. And then, for example, this clip right here, this entire video, I've watched this before. I literally kept track. He does not miss a pump the entire video. I've never seen that before. Maybe it was just his day. Maybe he's just crazy like that. Never in my life have I seen anybody play an entire solo cash cup, post a video to YouTube, and they don't miss a single pump, ever. He might be the most naturally talented player we've seen ever to touch the game. He might be that. 103, he might be that. He might be crazy. I hope he's not cheating. I hope he's not cheating. I seriously don't. I hope that he's legit. I hope that he's just that good. But the fact that I've never seen anyone this good, or no pro has seen anyone this good ever, I don't even know.
Plus, on top of all of this evidence, a massive amount of fuel was added to the fire by the fact that Peter didn't stream. Many people in his position would stream to earn a ton of money, but Peter refused to, and many people thought that that's because he was cheating and didn't want people to know. However, it turns out that Peter just didn't want to stream.
I don't stream enough, I feel like. So, I don't really have, a goal right now because I don't stream enough to have a goal. But, I want to be big, I want to be the person to stream to people. But, I just don't have the mindset right now.
So, with all of these cheating accusations going on, one of the easiest ways for Peter to prove himself would be to compete and perform well in a LAN event. For those of you that don't know, these LAN events, which are in-person tournaments, have computers that are PC checked by professionals to make sure that there's no way anybody could be cheating. And luckily for Peterbot, Fortnite's first LAN event since the World Cup was announced for November 13th, 2022, and it was called the FNCS Invitational. Peterbot was gearing up and ready to go after winning with his duo Bila. Unfortunately, however, tragedy would strike when right before the Invitational, with just a couple weeks to go, Bila would drop out of the LAN event without much explanation. This left Peter to find a duo in the very last minute of the tournament, ultimately deciding to team up with his good friend Jamper to lead him into the LAN. Rumors of the duo started to spread like wildfire, especially rumors surrounding Bila dropping out because he believed that Peterbot would be exposed for cheating at LANs. Also, people thought that Peter was paying Bila not to play because he would have preferred to play with Jamper. And this was never proven to be true, and I also don't think that it's true, but I'm just sharing this because it was some of the rumors that were going on at the time. So Peterbot and Jamper got into the FNCS Invitational and dropped in hoping for the best as a brand new duo. And on day one, things didn't go to plan. They finished last. Literally dead last. 50 out of 50. But the duo still had a chance to prove themselves on day 2. And while they didn't score last, they placed 37th, which was still probably not the placement that either one was looking for, especially since Peter had the added weight of trying to clear these cheating accusations. But let's be real, Peter did really well considering this was his first LAN event ever. He was 15 years old, had barely showed his face up until this point, and was probably incredibly nervous to go out there on a huge stage. And just because Peter had haters didn't mean that he was going to give up after that unfortunate LAN performance. Instead, he was going to lock in and make sure the 2023 season was even better than 2022. Instead of keeping Bila or Jamper as a duo, Peter would then team up with the winner of the Fortnite World Cup, Bugha. The two of them decided to team up going into the 2023 2023 FNCS Major 1. Both of them performed incredibly well going into the grand finals, and basically everyone thought this was the dream team that had the FNCS in the bag. But once again, as it seemed to go for Peter at this time, things didn't go to plan. The two pros only got 16th in grand finals, which, although is incredible for many others, was completely devastating for Peterbot.
I was expected to win the first FNCS of last year. Won Acorn and Cold first one, and I got 16th. I just started playing Valorant all day for no reason, and just getting worse and worse.
As you heard Peter say, he was distracted, and although he never made a switch to be a Valorant professional, he didn't really take the game Fortnite as seriously as he should have, considering what he was trying to do. And that was prove everyone wrong and be the best Fortnite player of all time. Even though Peter performed poorly, however, he would still get the opportunity to find himself a more stable income and a group of people to play with in Elite Esports.
3 orgs down, this is our last choice. It's Elite. What are our thoughts?
Alright bro, this is the one.
Go for it.
Peter would join the organization on April of 2023. Following joining Elite, Peter was still on the hunt for a duo, and in the 2023 season, he would try out playing with Quanti, where they placed 9th in FNCS, and Larson, where they would place 18th. At this point into the year, Peter hadn't been able to qualify for the global championships that would be taking place at the end of the year. Luckily, however, in the 2023 format, there was actually a 4th last chance major that gave everybody a final opportunity to make it to the big LAN. And instead of sticking it out with Larson, Peter decided to switch up and go back to his old duo one more time, landing on Byla. Yep, the guy that ditched him at LAN, Byla. And although they didn't get to play together for LAN, nobody ever said they weren't a good duo. And these two clutched up and managed to place 1st in the last chance major, which earned them a ticket straight to the finals in Copenhagen.
By the end of the year, by Copenhagen, when I clutched up LAN qual, I started like getting my full grind again, getting back to like my main form.
And even better than winning the FNCS last time, Byla actually stuck it out, and the two would go to the 2023 Global Championships on October 15th of 2023. The duo managed to place 26th, and although this placement wasn't great, it gave Peter the push that he needed to know that he had to be the best going into 2024. And that brings us up to this new year. It's only been 7 months into 2024, and if you love Fortnite like I do, you know that Peter is having a historic year. And I'm gonna give you guys all the juicy details and talk about the massive amount of earnings that Peter has made, all leading up to when we talk about what happened in this epic weekend. So shortly after the 2023 Global Championships, Peter decides to drop Byla once again. And thinking back to when he originally found Byla, Peter knew that he needed to find a duo that was moldable to his style. Peter being an incredible fighter and also a very aggressive IGL, he needed to find somebody who could play with him. And that guy was Poyo. And to say that these two guys clicked would be an understatement. Peter and Poyo would pick up their first duo Cash Cup win before 2024 even started. See, Fortnite was hosting some preliminary Cash Cups before the new season, and on December 17th of 2023, Peter and Poyo won $1,600, which seemed to be a great start for the two and an omen for more good things to come. And little did they know that they were about to play the greatest season in the history of Fortnite. But before we can talk about their gameplay, we need to talk about his organization situation, because in late 2023, Peter would leave Elite Esports, which meant going into 2024, he was looking for a new home. Alongside his ex-duo partner, Bucky, Peterbot would join Agent Gaming.
One more special guest that we're going to be bringing in. He also somehow wants some type of intro song. Who is this? Take off the back. Peterbot! Welcome to Agent, man.
Thank you.
So now Peter was going into Major 1 with the support of an awesome new organization, and he was not about to let them or any of his fans down. The FNCS Major 1 Grand Finals for North America was held on February 25th of 2024. The duo had done relatively well in qualifier rounds and were consistently placing in the top 5. Despite their solid performances in the qualifiers, they weren't exactly expected to place within the top teams going into the Grand Finals, considering Peter's poor performance at the end of last season. However, this team was about to prove to everyone that they were the team to watch out for. And although they didn't get to snag first place, the duo did score 721 points, placing 2nd in the NA Grand Finals.
Peterbot and Poyo in 2nd. Peterbot was putting on an absolute highlight reel. The broadcast was showing some of the most ridiculous shots I have ever seen out of them.
The duo that came out on top Major 1 was Acorn and Cold with 898 points in the tournament. Just to compare how competitive NA was compared to EU that season, the top team on EU had only 649 points, and this just goes to show how Acorn and Cold blew away the rest of the competition. Which reminds me, if you guys want to see a video about Cold or Acorn or anybody else, comment down below who you want to see in my next video, and make sure to subscribe so I know who to make it about. But anyways, despite Peter and Poyo getting second place, they were ready to take over first in the next season. Going into Majors 2, Peterbot was looking unstoppable. Him and Poyo just played a perfect Cash Cup, winning 6 out of 6 final games.
Nice. Actually, he has a med kit. Just pop it.
The med kit was too early. Nice.
Maybe go back. Nice.
Nice.
Let's go.
Nice. Oh my god.
Let's go.
But soon enough, that would seem small in comparison to the insane major that he was about to be playing in. Peterbot was incredibly confident about his odds, and there was nothing separating him from his first place in Grand Finals.
I'm gonna let you know right now, there's no world where I don't win this Grand. There's no world. I'm going to win this Grand, it's guaranteed, you know? And if I don't,
and Peterbot's confidence, or cockiness, was there for a good reason. He had an incredible drop spot. As many of you know, Chapter 5's map changes introduced the new medallion system into Fortnite. Basically, you eliminate bosses at certain POIs, and you retrieve these coins, or medallions, which give you special powers. And Peterbot and Poyo, being the threat that they were able to claim the uncontested drop of Grim Gate. And for those of you that don't know, this is where Cerberus is. He drops an overpowered Gatekeeper shotgun and a medallion that helps you dash around the map with unlimited refreshes. So going into Grand Finals number 2 of that year, Peter was not only the best player in the game, but also had the best drop spot, best shotgun, and best medallion on his side. And with all of these factors at play, just on day 1, Peterbot and Poyo broke the record for most points in a single day in a major.
That's right, these guys have just broken the previous record for most points in a single day. The last time we saw this was OCE, Chapter 4, Major number 2 from Sons and Anon.
Going into day 2 as the clear leaders, Peter and Poyo locked in just to seal the deal and prove they were the best of the best.
Don't feed them the splashes, don't feed them the splashes.
Oh my god!
Peterbot and Poyo came out not only as the champions getting first place in Majors 2, but also setting a world record of FNCS points where they got 5 wins and 1,092 points. Now we're getting closer and closer to talking about this crazy past weekend, but there's one more tournament that would take place before the Invitationals, and that was Major 3. The Agent House was bought out by a different org called Exceed. They also happened to sign Peter's duo, Poyo, meaning the duo was now playing for the same org for the first time ever. Peter and Poyo went into this third majors very confident in themselves. I mean, who wouldn't be if you just broke the world record for points in the last FNCS? However, the duo would no longer have the Cerberus drops of the medallion and the Gatekeeper shotgun at their disposal, meaning that they would need a new strategy. And on top of these items no longer being in their inventory, this major saw a ton of players from Europe coming on over to EU to throw some new challenges into the mix. We saw players like Mongrel, Mr. Savage, and many others come to NA to try at one last chance at qualifying for the FNCS Invitational of 2024. On top of these odds that were already stacked against them, statistically speaking, it's just incredibly rare to win back-to-back FNCS Grand Finals.
Peterbot and Poyo currently holding the Axe of Champions, looking to defend that title. We kind of seen these guys just perform out of their minds, but I guess for now the question becomes, how have they been performing in this major? And honestly, what would it take to get that back-to-back?
They've been performing extremely well. That is why this is topic of conversation, right? Can they pull off the back-to-back? And back-to-backs are not easy. It's not something that we see happen very often. In fact, I wanted to go ahead and point out the last time that we actually saw a back-to-back, and that was actually when Bugha and Miro were teammates. And this happened all the way back, Chapter 2, Season 8, when we had the seasonal FNCS.
It's crazy that the last back-to-back winner before this was Bugha, and that was all the way back in Chapter 2. Many were skeptical going into the season reason that Peterbot and Poyo's reign of terror in the last season was just because of the OP drop spot. I mean, even I myself made a video about Peter and Poyo and how they might have just gotten lucky in that last FNCS, but they were about to prove us all wrong. Even without their precious medallion, Peter and Poyo were not giving up. The next season, they decided to drop at Redline Rig. And as far as strategy goes, things were mostly the same for Peter and Poyo. They still W-keyed most of the lobby and absolutely dominated. However, at the end of day 1 of Major 3, Peterbot and Poyo were actually not in first place. In fact, they were in second behind one duo that everybody wanted to win. With Clix and Vino, of all people, in first place, everybody was shocked and more eyes than ever were on this FNCS. And while this was terrible for Clix and all the Clicksters, it ended up working out great for Peterbot. Peterbot and Poyo absolutely dominated on day 2 and managed to take home that sweet back-to-back FNCS win. And although Peterbot and Poyo were already qualified for the FNCS Globals in Dallas, winning back-to-back FNCS Grand Finals going into that must have put their confidence at an all-time high. So without further ado, let's talk about this weekend and what just happened as Peter and Poyo made absolute history. The 2024 FNCS Global Finals, held right in the Dickies Arena in Dallas, Texas. Dallas being the home to many of North America's pro players, which means unlike in Copenhagen a year ago, Peterbot and his fellow Americans wouldn't have to travel far or deal with any jet lag during the competition. All Peter had to do was take a short drive over and dominate. The Global Finals tournament would be split over 2 days, September 7th, Saturday, and September 8th, Sunday. Each day would be comprised of 6 games, which meant they would play a total of 12 matches. And what would the big winner be taking home? Well, the first place team would get $400,000 all to themselves. Unlike many tournaments in the past, Peterbot and Poyo were not being underestimated. In fact, they were probably favorites to win. But as we talked about earlier in the video, how likely is it for someone to win back-to-back tournaments, let alone back-to-back-to-back tournaments, including a global championship? And another thing about this tournament was that this wasn't just an NA tournament. Even though it was being hosted in America, the world's best players would be there. From OCE to EU to Asia to Brazil and everywhere else, this was going to be the biggest challenge Peterbot and Poyo had faced yet. That being said, Peterbot's confidence was at an all-time high.
You guys, I mean, eliminations, you guys are strong going into this. How do you feel?
I feel good, and I'm confident. And I think we're going to
Going into the tournament, the duo decided that they'd be dropping at one of the new POIs for Chapter 5 Season 4, The Raft. The Raft is a huge prison-based POI containing some insane loot, as well as the NPC Emma Frost. For those of you who haven't really gotten a chance to play Fortnite during this new season, the Emma Frost NPC drops the best medallion currently available, and perhaps the most overpowered medallion we've seen. And keep in mind, this is considering the fact that Peter had the Grim Gate medallion, and I think this is even more OP. This is the Reveal medallion. This medallion scans the area around the holder of it every 50 seconds and marks where opponents are, and you can even see them through builds. This power is incredibly helpful throughout the game, but more specifically through endgame, and especially in a duos game mode where you can tell which players are left alive as a solo and don't have a duo to defend themselves.
I think that Reveal medallion is going to be so beneficial for them because they can just find anyone lurking in different situations. They're not going to get snuck up on. It's playing into their hands right now if they can make it off spawn, which it seems like they have a solid strategy so far and clearly a lot of confidence as well.
The Emma Frost NPC also drops a Mythic Striker Burst AR, which is an incredible weapon, especially this season when there isn't a ton of long distance weaponry. And in these really stacked Grand Finals lobbies, if you guys don't know, there's something called Storm Surge where players need to do a certain amount of damage, otherwise they'll be killed by the storm. So with a weapon like that in Peterbot's hands, it was no doubt that they wouldn't deal with issues from Storm Surge. Everyone knew this was the best drop spot by far, and because of how valuable this area is and just how much amazing loot exists there, 3 teams decided to drop there, which is a lot of teams to be contested by, but like I said before, Peterbot was incredibly confident in himself and his ability to absolutely destroy everybody in his way.
The raft is looking busy. There's a lot of duos going into the same spot. Is that a good thing for you guys in terms of Surge and things? You kind of eager to have that happen and prove right off the bounce that you guys are ready to contend for that title?
Yeah, I mean, like, the 4 teams won't really be an issue for us because, you know, I think we are going to be chilling on our side of Raft and get the Mythic Gog every game.
Although Peterbot had won multiple FNCS Grand Finals at this point, he has yet to win a LAN event at this level. So this was a big moment for him to prove all the haters wrong and once and for all show people that he was not a cheater. So without further ado, let's drop in to game number 1. In game 1, the duo drops as planned on Raft and immediately snatches up the medallion.
Peterbot was saying earlier on, that bot is always going to be ours. Emma Frost's medallion and that mythic striker burst, that's everything that they're after, and he's already collected it.
Wow, so Peterbot and Boyo already off to a great start here. Clearly they have the advantage. Clearly they even have the respect of the teams landing here not to step center foot into their location.
With the reveal medallion in hand, the duo would press on to Rift Island.
As the Rift Island's already gone up and we already know who's playing for it.
Peterbot and Poyo did not even wait a moment's notice. As soon as the Rift Island spawned in, these two were prepped and ready to go. Peterbot already taking advantage, putting some pressure onto teams that are just trying to rotate at the bottom of Rift Island. You know teams like to try and utilize some of those rifts along the bottom, but again, when you have a team like Peterbot and Poyo, and they're not the only ones lurking either, Trashy and Threats as well, making their presence known, but keep in mind, Poyo Peterbot, they've got that reveal medallion.
Yeah, they're going to be able to scout them out in just a couple of moments here. So Trashy and Threats will have a big problem here.
Taking out Cheeps and earning his first elimination of the game and the tournament. But there would be plenty more to come.
Major eliminations are happening though as we're covering the action here. One of those, it's Peterbot and Boyo staying active here. Down goes Cheeps from the high ground there. And they are doing what we expect of them. Very healthy, extremely material capped, and now picking up points. That's a runaway train potentially starting to take form.
Of course, Peterbot was not going to just stop there. He kept rotating, eventually making it towards the final few storm circles. He would also take out Alex's duo Power Worthy on the way. Unfortunately, however, Peter would also lose his duo Poyo in the rotation process, meaning that he was going to have to play out the final circles as a solo. But just because he was down a teammate doesn't mean he was going to hide for the rest of the game. This is Peterbot we're talking about. He was going to go down fighting.
With Clix's
oh my god.
POV, but Clix
wow.
is just crazy with the movement. The fact that he managed to escape.
Still alive.
Still
he's clutching. Almost a top 15 now. And he's inside the top 15. Could he make a top 10? It's so close and down he goes to the hands of Peterbot. He takes him down. Peterbot is also a solo.
Peter was able to drag him and Poyo right into the 7th place spot with 8 total eliminations. This match altogether got the duo 70 points. And while this is not the first place finish Peter was hoping for, this round set them up perfectly for future high performance games. And speaking of future games, it's time to talk about game number 2. In game 2, Peter and Poyo stay true to their drop and play similarly to the early game of round 1.
Muzz gonna find himself into a situation. Peterbot goes huge there though off the SETI.
8 eliminations now for Peterbot and Boyo here. Peterbot still going, nearly finding another one there. Just moments away now from a top 5 here. Can he do it as a solo? He's getting spotted out though. Armor wall comes down. Another weak player in front of him. Oh, he got tagged. Never powered out. It was so close.
And it was clear that they simply weren't as lucky this game, dealing with some tough RNG. They were having trouble finding their footing and had incredibly low materials. However, Peter would get an important elimination against Sphinx and then Yuma and Acorn, but he wasn't able to stick the landing.
Just too much pre-existing pressure. But Peterbot controls massive here. Acorn's gonna get caught out, and Peterbot gets the shutdown.
Oh, but someone comes
This subpar performance landed the back-to-back winners in 15th place with only 3 eliminations. This 34 points would bring their total to 104. That game was disappointing for Poyo and Peter, but they still had plenty of time to take their rightful place at the top of the leaderboard. Going into Game 3, Peter and Poyo would need to lock in if they wanted to get a good start going into Day 2. They continued to drop at the raft and got their medallion and started to approach other teams. Peter actually was able to get an early kill onto Trashy and another elimination onto Cammy, but it wasn't until the end game that Peter really decided to shine.
Peterbot Poyo, they're currently sitting inside a top 3, 3rd place to be specific, and they're gonna instantaneously take over the hill. Prime position, also catching shots, tags, connecting onto Queasy. But the hill height is the real W here.
Well, I hate to call it early, but it is not looking good for the lobby if you're rooting against Peterbot and Poyo right now, as they've got themselves the natural elevation, the material count, and the base already set up.
This capture of the high ground was so incredibly important because it set Peter and Poyo up for some incredible eliminations while keeping themselves safe from attack from above. However, this was absolutely devastating to literally every other team still alive.
Fortunately, he won't even get a chance to reconsider where he wants to go next. Peterbot and Poyo more than content to take the shutdown.
And they're the team up top, looking down on the rest of the lobby here.
Peterbot and Poyo are bound to catch wind of this. Immediately, the shots rain in. Kovac's trying to scurry around, but he won't escape. There's too much pressure. Peterbot too accurate as well. Another duo life getting flamed here in the mix. Ritual still trying to work his way through. He's crouching, he's breaking the builds, but Peterbot and Poyo MDF, I hate to call it early, but they are looking primed to take over here in match 3.
As the storm circle got smaller and smaller, Peterbot and Poyo eventually had to lose the high ground and fight the remaining teams one-on-one.
Goes to them, Merstash is down, Malabuka's down, 2v2. All they gotta do now is find the last shot, and Poyo, hungrier than ever, is gonna get one. They just need the second now.
Peterbot, Poyo, they're tracking him down. Swizzy staring just a layer above. Poyo's gonna fall though. This could be massive. Swizzy could actually take it, but Peterbot trying to shut that tree down. Peterbot, oh my tag is all he needs. Swizzy takes it home.
Peterbot and Poyo get taken down to the hands of Swizzy.
In the last minute, unfortunately, the win was taken right out of Poyo and Peterbot's hands. But that doesn't quite negate the fact that they played an incredible game. And Peterbot didn't seem to worry about the second place anyway. He knew that he just got enough points to put him in first place overall.
No, we got a 12 elimination second, so it really doesn't matter to me. We're in first by 40 points or something.
The team got a combined 12 eliminations and got 104 points, literally doubling the point count they had in the first 2 games. This was more like the Peterbot and Poyo that we saw in the last 2 grand finals. With the new point total of 208 points and being in first place, it seemed like Peter had finally settled his nerves and was ready to dominate. And after a short break, the players would return to their stations for a game number 4, and Peter was ready to take down anybody in front of him, after getting the medallion and going on their merry way before approaching the Rift Island. On top of that, they were able to upgrade their heals and to some gold weapons by capturing the flag at the top of Rift Island, and this set the duo up for success.
4th place is out, 5th place is out. The standings now starting to gap away. Thomas HD and company, Trulips and company are the closest to, but our first place lead, Peterbot and Poyo here, set up for the Rift Island. They continue to fight for it. It's like you see it spawn and you know, all right, who's gonna be there? It's this team right here.
Nah, for me, it's the fact that Peterbot just lit King up, trying to rip by the side of Rift Island there. And Peterbot, we heard it direct when he was doing that interview with Adam Savage. My aim is on another level right now, and that might be the most perfect example imaginable.
But despite their good luck with loot, Poyo goes down early, which leaves Peter to hold down the fort. Get it? Fort like Fortnite? Okay, just play the clip.
Peterbot may have his community on his back, but the rest of this lobby, the rest of the world is hoping he does not perform well. Acorn is going to be the resulting team of the reason Poyo is down and out. And this is good for everyone else. Obviously not so good for Peterbot.
In this moment, his mind probably switched into survival mode. In order to maintain his lead, all he had to do was make it further and further up in placements, but unfortunately, Peterbot would go down in 18th place.
Crevice here, but no! Doesn't take the first shot as a warning, and that's a huge mistake now. The first mistake we have actually seen from Peterbot right there.
Because of this mistake, Peterbot and Pollo left the game with only 20 points. And while this wasn't a bad enough performance to drop them out of first place, it definitely let the gap between the second place team, Vico and Flixie, get much closer. And in fact, going into the 5th game, they were only 1 point behind Peter and Pollo. If Peter and Pollo wanted to have the lead going into day 2, they would need a successful game 5 and 6. Game 5 starts out with an unremarkable first half. After following their loot path and grabbing their medallion once again, they would stop at Rift Island and a vault on the way, building up an inventory they could dominate with. However, unlike the last game, Pollo doesn't get picked off early, and the two of them seem to be playing a little bit more safe and a little bit more conservative so that they could secure a high placement.
Find threats with the finish there. Now that's 3 elims, another end game, inching its way towards them now, as we're almost to zone number 9. Big moves here for Peterbot. They're going to give up the high ground a little bit here to play the low front side. Very interesting strategy given that they had mats to work with, but too many teams are alive for their liking, it seems.
Also, the natural elevation possibly working against their favor for the time being. They don't want to get caught off guard, much of a similar fashion the way that they've been catching other teams off notice.
These two would have to play the rest of the match on low ground, but that was not a problem. They burned through countless opponents one after another until there was only 2 teams that remained, Peterbot and Pollo, and Bolts and Bryce.
Bolts and Bryce have been here before. Bryce specifically has won games in person on land. I called it before. This is the team that you have to look out for. They are so talented. However, Peterbot and Pollo just, I mean, they've been ahead of the pack so far.
But Peterbot and Pollo, they got the most recent refreshes.
Pollo's
granted, everyone's building, everyone's burning through it, but Pollo strikes first. Bryce is gonna fall. Peterbot understanding it's all down to Bolts to try and clutch this one up, but it's Peterbot and Pollo after all.
Bolts has been here though, he knows what to do. Don't give him a chance to heal, you have to fight back. Armored walls come out, they have a little bit more mats, but Peterbot has too much to work with. Another armored wall, Bolts has an angle. Can he get him? No! Peterbot won't drop him twice.
Peterbot and Pollo strike yet again on the day. Match number 5, and the victory royale belongs to them.
This win was absolutely huge. 10 eliminations, first place, and 105 points. This absolutely secured their lead once again, but Peter and Pollo, if they wanted to make sure nobody else would catch up, needed a solid game 6 to end out day 1. After winning the previous match, they were in full stride. They were able to best Sato and Andalex on Rift Island like it was nothing.
Peterbot continuing to claim as many eliminations as possible throughout the course of the day. These guys have been leading the charge here. Peterbot goes for another one. It just doesn't seem like Andalex was prepared in the slightest.
I can just hear the reaction through the headphones of what's going on here in the arena. Clearly the crowd is starting to rally with Peterbot now. Just take a look at that. And the first emote of the day as well, so confidence surging.
As the game goes on, the team continues to absolutely burn through the competition, taking down everyone they faced and once again getting them into the final 2 teams.
On to that Gears elimination, and now just a raw 2 versus 2 up against the likes of Agers and Rise.
Peterbot and Pollo went from 2nd to 1st, and now at minimal a 2nd place, but Pollo is always the first to kick off the fight, and he does it in spectacular fashion. Now Peterbot steps up to the plate. Agers is hurt. 1 edit, it's all it's going to take here to put him down, but Armor Wall comes through to get his teammate the full reset here. He says, hey, let's not rush it. And then they jump down, focusing up to high ground here shortly. Give it a moment now. Peterbot and Pollo side by side here. Rise and Agers starting to fizz it off. Pressure coming in from the low ground. They're running out of materials. Armor walls are done. They're depleted.
Still decent amount of space for Peterbot and Pollo to work with. Keep in mind, Pollo also still has those 4 armored walls, but as far as the health bar is concerned, Peterbot, Pollo, they are fully in the driver's seat. But that doesn't mean that Rise and Agers couldn't turn this one in their favor. They also need a massive game here to finish strong on the leaderboard.
Definitely, this is going to be a significant moment now. How do you close out day number 1? Second and first, very impactful differences here. Peterbot and Pollo start to swing their way up. They get the angle that they're looking for. Pollo, once again, doesn't quite find it. Peterbot's hurt, though. It's a low ground attack. Pollo by himself here, but the trade from Peterbot up top, he has done what he needed to, and Pollo takes down Agers and clutches out the win from the low ground with back-to-back dubs.
Pollo said it himself, I don't need to worry when I've got Peterbot next to me, and Peterbot could say the same fashion. As long as he's got his duo Pollo, these two can always try to reestablish control.
That's right, the back-to-back FNCS winners won back-to-back games to end off day 1 of the Global Championship. This got the boys another 109 points due to them getting 11 eliminations. This brought their total to 442 points on day 1. The closest team behind them in second would be Thomas HD and Queasy with just 295 points, which means they had a whopping 147 point lead. Of course, Peterbot, being as confident as he is, thinks he has the entire championship in the bag.
And Peterbot, you are steps away. Tomorrow, someone's going to lift that trophy. How do you think it's going to be, you guys? How close do you think you're going to come to it?
That'll be us. It won't be close. I mean, we're ahead by a lot, and tomorrow we're going to come out winning.
But as we all know, anything can happen on day 2. And for those of you that don't know, Epic actually gives out 1.5x the points that they do on day 1, meaning that if anything is going to happen, it's going to happen on day 2, as you can earn way more points for getting the same placements you got on day 1. In the first game of day 2, which is game number 7, Peter and Pollo decide to recycle their strategies from day 1. However, they run into a little bit more trouble on Rift Island than they were prepared for.
For Peterbot and Pollo, not much has changed given that they have continued to key their way into the Rift Island. This time they'll met with a lot more resistance. It's about the weakest we've seen them coming into mid-game, and I mean, it makes sense. You have Zagu up top here with Shadom and Vidil and Reason here. Very strong teams, very low on the surge here for Pollo and Peterbot. I mean, everyone might just get what they've been looking for, a potential early exit here.
Oh, that was a little bit of a whiff there out of Pollo. Was probably hoping to fully connect, but Pollo, he finishes what he started, gets Reason in the process, but finds himself getting immediately gobbled up by Vidil. And now a serious 1-versus-1 situation, but keep in mind, there's so many other teams surrounding Rift Island. Peterbot, he's just hoping that he can get the revive off.
Talk about an incredible save here, but Badial's not going to make it easy here. Armored walls are coming out. Peterbot is desperate and boxed up right now. Zagu is also just above, putting in a couple of shots here, but things are going to slow down. And just when you thought it was over, they get saved here. Peterbot and Pollo are back in.
But at the cost of so many of their armored walls, Peterbot had to fully utilize practically everything he had saved up. And keep in mind, they still need heals. There's no shield, at least as far as Peterbot's loadout is concerned. Possibly Pollo is carrying a couple of small shield potions, but I'd have to guess not, considering that neither of them is bothered to recover. They're just trying to tango once more with Vidil, but he will not budge.
Doing an excellent job here waiting for them. He knows it's still a 2v1, and Peterbot and Pollo are absolutely deadly here. And let's not forget, they have the medallion, right? So they still have very much full awareness of who's around them, but the tags, they need more damage. They've run out of heals here. This is about the best case scenario for every other duo in the lobby if you want to win the globals, which we know very surely they do. Pollo, though, not giving up just yet. Still knows that there's a job to be done here.
At this stage, though, another issue for Peterbot and Pollo is one of their only options remaining to exit Rift Island might just be to take the Ascender down. But again, if they go for that launch pad, they might encounter even more resistance from the other teams that are a little bit more established, a little bit more healthy as well. But Pollo, Peterbot, they try to mark it off in the first place. And they will break through the builds and manage to escape.
Hopefully they don't get targeted while they're flying by. A lot of teams here in the vicinity now. Peterbot going for the dive down. Pollo trying to scout where's the best spot. They're below the surge. They're going to have to land and take a fight. It's all or nothing now. Peterbot tries to go for Dukes and Sphinx. And they go for it, but Peterbot gets knocked. It's all up to Pollo now. Everything lies on him to keep the train going here. He's going to find a lot of tags here, just enough to keep his team in the win now. They try to box up Peterbot. They want to finish his duo. He's not trying to give it away for free. He's actually fighting with all of his heart here, and they're running for him, trying to steal his duo away. And he's going for it, but no! So close! Almost takes down Dukes as well in an incredible exchange, and first place is out. The runway is open.
That was rough. They simply could not catch a break, and I'm honestly not sure how they could have gotten out of that situation alive, but they did a great job at least lasting as long as they could. This was the worst case scenario for Peter and Pollo. The team only got 1 elimination, earning them 6 points, and this allowed Thomas and Queasy to almost completely catch up from the day before, closing the gap between first and second to only 23 points. And unfortunately, Peterbot and Pollo, the next game would somehow do even worse. In game number 8, during the third storm, the duo decided to take on a fight that they seemed like would be an easy win for them, and it just wasn't.
Pollo and Peterbot even working their way through the storm. Got eyes on Yapko and Swizzy. They clearly want the fight, but way off in the distance. Teams a little bit closer to that edge of zone, putting even more pressure still onto Peterbot and Pollo. They are not getting the same clean rotations that they had all day yesterday.
Now keep in mind, this is a team that has landed on each other, right, coming into the season. So Peterbot and Pollo now forcing a back out because tags are coming in from the distance is definitely not ideal by any means. However, if they found the tags that they need, they won't have the problem they had in match number 7, right? They were so far below the surge. This lobby's starting to cut down pretty quick, so we are just gonna have to see what happens when the zone closes here.
Problem though, Peterbot, he's the only one with the medkit. Pollo, he's got to hope that he can find some bandages, a medkit, any form of white heals along the way. But that moment doesn't seem like it's going to come. A lone couple of bananas, and Peterbot knows he's just gonna have to let his duo fall. He'll make the play for the revive after he expends this medkit, but they've still got so much ground to cover, and a team already choosing to close in. Sky, Scroll, they have the immediate collapse. Peterbot, can he get Pollo up?
They've been watching, they saw what happened, and then they saw the name that went down. Peterbot fully armors himself up. Every wall is covered here. They will have to literally break him out and then fight, and he is ready. Rifle in hand, shotgun in the backup kit, ready to go. He tries to go for the wall replace first. Very smart done. However, starting to run out of material. Peterbot is one of the best in the world, and for good reason. You just cannot stop him if he does not want it to be done. Look at how well he's putting up a fight in a 2v1 situation right now.
The fact that he's even delayed Sky and Scroll for this long is phenomenal, as is Peterbot continuing to split them apart. He will not let them challenge him 1 versus 1. Anything else is not going to go their way, but Peterbot, he's still managing to scramble. He's on the escape. He's got the reveal marks as well. He knows exactly how he needs to move. But again, Sky, Scroll, they realize we got to reconvene. We got to re-aggress. Peterbot from below. He's on his last little ticks of HP, and I don't think he's going to make it out.
Finds a bandage, has to hit it, but unfortunately will fall now. And that is back-to-back games of trouble on the horizon now for Peterbot and Pollo.
Back-to-back devastating losses for Peterbot and Pollo. And remember when I said earlier that anything could happen on day 2? Well, this was anything, and it was most certainly happening. The circles weren't working in their favor as they were the day before, not to mention that the medallion was making them an easy target coming in from zone. On top of that, people knew Peter and Pollo were in first, making it much more likely that people would try and fight them. But I do think that these back-to-back back-to-back losses could also be attributed to the overconfidence the team had. Instead of just making their way to circle and backing off of fights, Peter decided to be a little bit too confident and take down everybody in the lobby that he could, and instead he ended up taking himself down. This game left them with 0 additional points behind Queasy and Thomas HD. Heading into the 9th of 12 games, the duo had just 4 games left to make their presence known and get the victory royale.
So here we are in game number 9, and this one was off to a better start.
Peterbot and Pollo, though, this is the furthest we've seen them make it all day today, so they're clearly trying to ramp up for a big performance here in the 9th lobby.
And the duo even managed to once again take down Clix.
Clix continuing to try and charge through, hoping that he could catch another player off guard, but he sees Gone. He knows that there's a Notch body, but he won't be able to power through and push into these boxes with the armored walls going up, instead of trying to remain concealed. But Pollo, Peterbot, they're gonna find him.
Of course, it's Pollo and Peterbot waiting to catch them in the web.
Peterbot and Pollo continue to mow down the final teams, and it looks like the duo that we know and love from day 1 has finally come to play on day number 2. But tragedy would strike when Pollo is downed during the top 10.
Of Peterbot, who is on the low ground with a down teammate. Peterbot, so much more to work with, however, it's still so close for everyone else. Another med kit is going to start coming out for Queasy.
He's just doing everything he can to survive. Peterbot, though, going to pick up Teeny in the process. Queasy finds another into Rapid. Not going to get a chance, though, to collect the body loot. Instead, he's scrambling, trying to remain out of sight here. Tulix and Chicho right behind him, but Peterbot grabs him in the end.
That's exactly what he needed as well. Peterbot trying to take back these points here, finishing off Trulex now inside of a top 5 situation up on height. It's Dukes though with Peterbot looking to fight back. Do not count him out. It is all solos remaining here. Chicho goes down. The next one is down too. Batman Booga sent back to the lobby. 3 players now here. Peterbot looking at 1v1v1 and another one. Down goes Bars. Can he find the final fight here? Dukes is excellent in these type of scenarios, but Peterbot is just a little better. Up top, the high ground hit is good, and he needs to close it, and he does it again.
Peterbot, there is a reason why everyone is regarding him as the best in the world, and with a performance like that, he might just be.
Put him in the box, wrap him up, and send them back to the lobby is the motto here.
That was maybe one of the craziest final moments I have ever seen in an FNCS. But for a guy like Peterbot, apparently it's just a walk in the park.
Walk us through the last part of the game there. We just saw you sweep up. You were like unstoppable.
Yeah, I don't know. I just eliminated everyone. I mean, everyone was a solo players on me. Gold Gatekeeper with Drum Mag. I was just eliminating everyone. It was pretty easy.
This win earned them a crazy total of 160 points due to their 10 eliminations, making their cumulative point total 608, and once again placing themselves in the coveted first spot overall. Following the 9th match, which was halfway through day 2, they gave the players an intermission. This was a time for the duos to talk to their coaches and make a battle plan for the rest of the competition.
Everyone witnessing Peterbot's pop-off to conclude match number 9. Then you go with your duo, you sit and you wait, think, talk, but what do you do realistically when you are dealing with the Thanos of the lobby?
With only 3 games left, everyone was trying to come up with the best plan to climb up the ranks and possibly take down the infamous Peterbot and Pollo. And although the duo was in first place, the lead was not as solid as the one that they brought into day 2. And this seemed like everybody's chance to catch up. But would Peterbot and Pollo let him do it? Let's find out. Game number 10 is one of the most important ones in the tournament. Everyone is well rested as they came back from the intermission. The game started off normal, but unfortunately for Peterbot and Poyo, they were unable to contest the forecast tower, which was a major part of their strategy in early games.
This is also partially Domino's effect because Peterbot and Poyo rotated so early on to push Damo and Resigns off of the Clix Benno eliminations that now it's left an opening for Baka and Pars to set up home base around the forecast tower that would typically be contested by Peterbot and Poyo.
And this game would continue to spiral out of control for Peterbot and Poyo as the two managed to get caught up in a couple of fights outside of zone once again, which cost them valuable resources.
Getting ever so closer to visuals and company, but on the other side, Peterbot and Poyo making a move here from the outside of the zone now, and they are not looking too hot down at the Redline rig.
This could actually be a big spot of trouble here if Peterbot and Poyo aren't careful. They had teams on both sides of them as they continue to try and work their way into Brawler's Battleground. Just look at the amount of materials they've had to expend already, and they're still sitting just outside the edge of zone.
It was starting to look like we were about to see a repeat of the first two games of the day, and although they were able to escape the threat of the encroaching storm, the duo wasn't entirely safe. They were incredibly low on heals and on materials, but they were about to pick off a duo that would turn this game around.
Meanwhile, Peterbot and Poyo, this could be exactly everything they were looking for. Ed and Persa have fallen, and a big refresh of materials has finally headed their way.
That was actually so fast too, right? One of the fastest eliminations they picked up, but look, no heals were given out. You would think you catch two teams or a set of duos here on the outside, catch the quick elimination, and you'd be fully refreshed, but they are still in a very bad situation as far as heals are concerned.
Yeah, the kills turned out to not be as big of a help as they hoped. The duo enters into the top 20 and are quickly running out of materials. They managed to pick off Crisp before ultimately being taken down.
Peterbot is down to his final 4 builds.
Wow.
Make that 3. He's still got 6 armored walls though, but he'll have to be so meticulous with how he actually places them. But
Needed
just
that.
in time, Crisp has been found.
It's not much. It's not much, but it's something, and down they go in 17th place. They just couldn't get a footing.
And while 17th place certainly isn't inspiring considering their previous first place win last game, it definitely wasn't as bad as they had done earlier in the day. And because of all the eliminations they had, they did still earn 51 points. However, Thomas and Queasy were hot on their tail in second place. In game 11, Peterbot and Poyo managed to actually get a hold of the forecast tower.
Poyo and Peterbot, yet again, also finding themselves fully in control of the forecast tower.
They've doubled back, they've secured it again, and this means that they will have all the information for all of the zones coming up. It's such an advantage.
And they were also able to secure Rift Island, and that meant that Poyo and Peterbot were absolutely stacked. They had heals, they had weapons, and they knew where the zones were going to be, and along the way they picked up an elimination on Power Worthy as well. Once again, the duo made it to top 20, but the top 20 became a little bit more difficult than they anticipated.
Peterbot and Poyo continuing to rack up the eliminations here.
They couldn't have found those elims at a better time. Granted, it would be difficult for them to actually make their way towards the body loot, but Peterbot Poyo, they might just choose to take what's right in front of them. Rise immediately falls to Peterbot's accuracy, but it comes at a cost. Peterbot's lost Poyo. The lobby has closed in. Peterbot from the low ground, forced to throw out the armored wall, but everybody's got their eyes on the prize. It seems as though they've all pinpointed the fact that this is a solo operation.
With Poyo down once again, against all odds, here's what happened.
They are decimating the lobby.
It's a 1 versus 2 scenario, but Peterbot is just making it happen. Thomas HD and Queasy sitting at 8 eliminations already, though. But Peterbot gets another ritual isolated. No re in sight because he's been taken out earlier on. And Peterbot continuing to tarp his way through the low ground. There's a possibility, MDF, these two might actually just clash head on.
We have a 2v2 and then all solos in between. One of those solos is, of course, Peter, but Rapid is gonna fall as well, and he just does not stop claiming eliminations at this point. Bugha on the backside of zone. Don't come out, son. It's not gonna go well if you step into Peter's domain. Meanwhile, Thomas HD, Queasy are setting up the victory royale.
Thomas HD, Queasy, they know. It's Peterbot and Bugha.
Oh
all
my
they have
God.
to deal with, but Peterbot gets a huge chunk out of Queasy. Thomas is gonna fall. One more shot could do it. Peterbot with the refresh, continuing to break through on the long ground. He's making the impossible happen.
Queasy versus Bugha up top. Takes him down. Queasy versus Peterbot now. How badly do you want it? Queasy is looking for the tag. Both shots can easily go any way. Peter finds the first one. Can he get the second? He is incredible.
The second time today, Peterbot knew it was exclusively down to him, and left to his own devices, he delivers.
You just cannot make this up. He is too good.
This win was huge, but it did not guarantee them the win. The second place team, both in the previous match and in the overall leaderboards, is Thomas and Queasy, and they managed to get 12 eliminations in the previous game, meaning they actually earned more points than Peterbot and Poyo, even though they were in second place. And that means that for this last game, everything was still on the line. The teams were left to strategize amongst themselves before the game started, and Queasy and Thomas had to decide if they were going to play the game out normally and hope Peter and Poyo die, or if they would land on them and take matters into their own hands. But regardless of the decision, Peterbot and Poyo were prepared.
Yeah, I think they're going to land on us this last game, and then we're just going to kill them, and that'll be it.
Okay, you expecting that as well? Do you think there's a chance that Thomas and Queasy may make the play and go for you guys and land where you're landing and challenge you?
I think so. Okay. Maybe.
Game 12, the final game of the day, of the tournament, and of the 2024 FNCS season. Everyone needed to make this count, especially Peterbot and Poyo.
And I know everyone at home watching right now, sitting on the edge of their seats. What is gonna happen? Who is gonna take it all home and lift the trophy at the end, the bragging rights of being the best duo globally across all of the Fortnite regions?
Unlike the last few games where nobody tries to fight off spawn at the raft, Peterbot and Poyo were out for blood. They wanted to end this game quickly. They jumped right into action, dropping Trashy and threats right off of spawn.
Backs have had a phenomenal run, but it's cut short. Poyo, Peterbot doing the same currently to Trashy and threats.
And now, there's no friends in sight. Everyone at the raft must go. Peterbot and Poyo need more points, and they want to start opening up the gap here.
But despite taking fights at the beginning of the game, the duo seemed stronger because of it. They not only got the forecast tower, but also secured Rift Island, and everything seemed to be going to plan. The second place team, Thomas and Queasy, were not having as great of luck. They changed their rotations mid-game in an attempt to meet up with Peterbot and Poyo mid-game and eliminate them early on so they could get the tournament win. But unfortunately, the duo got caught up in the middle of a swamp outside of Green Gate.
And he is missing every opportunity of the rotates. Thomas HD, Queasy have to go for a fight here. But no! They get caught and taken down! And just like that, the tournament run for Thomas HD and Queasy come to a close. Poyo and Peterbot effectively survived long enough to be your global champions.
And with those two down, there was virtually nobody who could catch Peterbot and Poyo. But the game wasn't over, and there were still 27 other teams up, and Peter and Poyo were planning on beating them all.
Poyo and Peterbot, they're not even taking a moment to celebrate. It is all business as usual for these two. They want to leave it out with a bang. They're trying to find this last victory royale.
And man, oh man, did they beat them all.
Poyo and Peterbot have had so much time now to recuperate what they lost as far as health is concerned. Peterbot's already got one knock on to Trulex. It's just Chicho standing between them at this point. And Peterbot finds his third victory royale on the day. championship.
The undisputed 2024 champion, Foyo Peterbot, taking home in the only way they know how, and that is with a victory royale. Congratulations.
And not only did they win that game, but Peterbot and Poyo were our 2024 global champions.
Would you please give it everything you've got for the FNCS Global Champions 2024, Peterbot and Poyo!
Wow, Peterbot and Poyo are one special duo. And to be honest with you guys, I think Peterbot may be the greatest Fortnite player we've ever seen. I know that sounds crazy considering how young he still is, but considering the performance that we've seen these last few months, I think we have to give it to him. Comment down below what you guys think, and thank you so much for watching the videos. As always, click here to watch another one, and I will see you guys next week. I love you all. Peace.